Hey, church family, welcome to another day of going through the Psalms. We are on Psalm 96 today. We'll see in this psalm that worship and missions really go hand in hand. And if we're not worshiping, we won't be able to tell the world of God's glory. So let's read this psalm together and make a few observations. 96. O sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord all the earth. Sing to the Lord, bless his name. Tell of his salvation from day to day. Declare his glory among the nations, his marvelous works among all the peoples. For great is the Lord, and greatly to be praised. He is to be feared above all gods. For all the gods of the peoples are worthless idols, but the Lord made the heavens. Splendor and majesty are before him. Strength and beauty are in his sanctuary. Ascribe to the Lord, O families of the peoples. Ascribe to the Lord glory and strength. Ascribe to the Lord the glory due his name. Bring an offering and come into his courts. Worship the Lord in the splendor of holiness. Tremble before him, all the earth. Say among the nations, the Lord reigns. Yes, the world is established, it shall never be moved. He will judge the peoples with equity. Let the heavens be glad and let the earth rejoice. Let the sea roar and all that fills it. Let the field exult and everything in it. Then shall all the trees of the forest sing for joy before the Lord, for he comes. For he comes to judge the earth. He will judge the world in righteousness and the peoples in his faithfulness. So, this is a psalm that ties together two big biblical principles: worship and missions. If you're familiar with John Piper, he has said that missions exist because worship doesn't. In other words, missions exists because there are people who do not worship the living God. And kind of on the flip side, this psalm teaches us that our worship is what ultimately fuels our missions. We can't go if we aren't worshiping where we are. Now, I want us to see verse 10 really as the hinge verse of this psalm. It's the mission statement of this psalm. We are to go among the nations and tell of God's truth. But first, let's look at the foundation for this statement. How do we come to a place where we can say among the nations that the Lord reigns? Well, we have to sing. We have to sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord, blessing his name. Our worship of the Lord drives us to understand more fully who he is, that we might proclaim his beauty to those who have not yet seen him. Right? That's what these first 9 verses are talking about. In verses 7 through 9, when it says to ascribe to the Lord glory and strength, ascribe the glory to his name, it's saying give the Lord glory among the earth, that those who don't know him might know him. And so we come back to this verse 10, our mission statement. And here's what's interesting. It says to go and say among the nations. We hear that word, the nations, and we ultimately think of others. We think of other places, distant lands, maybe a plane ride away, or even a short bus ride. But regardless, we think of other places. But friends, the country that we live in is included in the biblical understanding of the nations. More specifically, your friends, your neighborhood are the nations. Your neighborhood is the nations. Don't read this as a psalm to go across the ocean. Read it as a command to be consistent in your worship, letting your worshipful life be the evidence of God's reign, specifically in your neighborhood, even in your backyard. And so, what does this look like? What does it look like to proclaim that the Lord reigns? How might we proclaim that the Lord is sovereign? Well, it looks like doing exactly what is here, that no matter our circumstances, it is possible to turn and worship the Lord. Now, of course, this looks different in different times and different seasons, but our worship is consistent. We have to look and see what the Lord has made, that all the earth trembles before him, and so do we. And look at the results of this worship and missions that goes hand in hand. The heavens are glad, the whole earth rejoices, the sea roars, the fields exult, and all the trees of the forest sing for joy. And why is this a reality? Because look at the promise in verse 13. The Lord comes. He comes to judge the earth. Now, the word judge here, another translation might be he comes to govern. He governs the world in righteousness and the people in his faithfulness. Our God is faithful and kind, just and merciful. And because of that, we can worship him. And because of that, we can declare among the nations that he reigns and he is good.